Well, now, let me introduce you to Alvin Toffler.
I'm a futurist. All of us think about the future, but a futurist devotes more time to thinking about the long-term future, not just what's going to happen next.
In 1970, Alvin Toffler published his seminal book, Future Shock, predicting the impact that new technologies would have on society and governments. It made him something of a global superstar, much in demand to speak at conferences and on TV and radio. Alvin Toffler was born in New York, the son of immigrants from Poland. As his fellow futurist Ray Hammond explains, he started his career writing for magazines.
He was a journalist and he was a Marxist as a young man, and he and his wife went to work in industry so they could actually understand what it was like to be a blue-collar worker. And he started to write about the labour market, but between 65 and 70, he and his wife Heidi started to realise that the technology that was coming in, which of course was computer-led in the 60s, was going to change society dramatically.
And all that led to the publication of Future Shock.
That was the big one.
1970.
What do we buy? Where do we go? What should we think? The make, the model, the price, the pitchman's plea. Buy now. Keep up with the latest.
What was the thesis in that book?
Essentially, it said that because of technology, change would be so dramatic in society that we would all find it difficult to keep up.
Technology feeds on knowledge, and knowledge expands at a phenomenal rate.
There would be ruptures in society as a result, as some groups were left behind whilst others struggled. And he said that democracy as we know it isn't really suitable for a highly technological age, because democracy as we know it came out of the industrial period.
All of the quote, advanced economies, advanced in different degrees, are making a fundamental transition from being brute force economies that are based on repetitive labor and muscle power to brain force economies.
He argued in that 1970 book for what he called anticipatory democracy, a government which actually called on experts from all walks of life to actually lay down ideas which would lead to policies, so that instead of saying over the next few years we'll build more houses, potential government would say over the next 25 years we will do this. And of course this led to his books being taken up strongly in China.
If we can recognize that industrialism is not the only possible form of technological society.
The reaction of Xiang, who was then the chairman of the party, was so strong that he invited Alvin Toffler to China in the early 80s, and Toffler's books were actually part of the curriculum in Chinese school.
If we can begin to think more imaginatively about the future, then we can prevent future shock, and we can use technology itself.
And it also happened to a lesser extent in the Soviet Union, and Mikhail Gorbachev was a huge fan. But in both of those nations, I believe Toffler actually influenced the turn of events, China's rise and the disintegration of the old communist system.
What about in the West? How was he received in his native USA?
He had his own television shows in the 80s. He was invited to the White House, but he wasn't a joiner. He never became a Washington person. He was always called on for advice. He regarded himself as a maverick, and I think that was one of his great strengths.
And what was his wife's contribution to his work? Because some say she was the power behind the throne.
He credited her in his later life as being editor at first and then co-author. But he said always with a little chuckle, but the big ideas, I started them.
How many of his predictions would you say have come true?
I don't think he made predictions as such. I think he identified trends, and the big ones certainly have come true.
What's most important is that we simply do not accept everything, that we begin to make critical decisions about what kind of world we want and what kind of technology we want.
He was a master storyteller, and he actually enthralled presidents as much as he enthralled ordinary people.
The choices we make will determine the nature of their world. There is still time.
Memories of Alvin Toffler, who's died aged 87.